Hello. I love this stage. It's fantastic. It's great to see so many faces here. I tell you what, I want the gang to come up just so they get a chance to get comfy on the sofa, so I do a little bit of scene setting. This is my first time to Disrupt, and it sort of takes me back really to first principles. What do we mean by disrupt? And I want to challenge you personally and individually. Do you see yourself as a disruptor in your own organizations? That's an important question, because if you don't, then clearly this is a waste of time. So I want you to think about being a disruptor and what that really requires. Now, I've been doing quite a lot of my own thing recently, and thinking about what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing is all this amazing tech is a little bit intimidating in truth. There's a bunch of people that spend all their life doing it. And then there's the rest of us that occasionally pop into it when we're not looking after the floor, whether that's virtual or in a room. And my point is this: if we don't understand what we're talking about, we can't really disrupt anything, yeah? So to me, part of the game is really thinking about the full potential of the technology, taking it into the environment of customer, colleague, and imagining how that world has changed as a result of all this fantastic enabling technology. So to me, being a disruptor is about getting our heads around opening up imagination, particularly of all the stakeholders, getting what could be possible. Because let's face it, disruption is about changing what is right now, isn't it? It's disrupting the status quo. And we know what status quos are, we don't want to change. And I think that's the big problem here. Right now, this tech is ready to go. There's been times where it hasn't been, but right now it's ready to go. The blocker is sitting in the room. Not you, of course, but your colleagues, because you've turned up today. So it's about being able to describe things in a way that people get what it's about. And so therefore, what we're going to do today in our session is I'm going to invite my experts to really delve into all the areas that they spend all their time understanding, but helping us by just picking out the things that are really important, the things that make a difference if I compare to today how it works versus how it used to be. And I'm not going to let them say AI. That's lazy. That's like saying frictionless or seamless. It doesn't mean anything. It's almost as bad as customer experience. It doesn't mean anything. What are we really talking about? So what we're going to try and do is use our expertise to summarize the difference between what it was and what it is now, and then put that into the context of a real world situation. You know, we're talking at the end of the day getting stuff done. So how's it different then, and how would it be different now if I use this stuff? And those are the stories I'd like you to get in your own head, because your job is to get everybody else in your businesses fired up, comfortable with the idea of something new, ready to go. And that really should be our job today, given the title of what this thing's all about. So do you get the brief? That's what we're going to go for. Right, let me introduce my team now. So, please, Rob.
So I'm Rob. I have the pleasure of being Sabio's CTO. I work really closely with many of our partners and have the opportunity to see the solutions we deliver across all of our global markets and many of our different industries. And I have the pleasure of looking at some more of those complicated projects that we deliver.
Thank you very much. Guillaume.
So I'm Guillaume. Yes, well, you will listen to my accent, I'm French, and I have the privilege, not the pleasure, the privilege to lead the contact center solution group in Sabio. We are in charge of trying to make sure we identify best practices, innovate also with all solutions and the assets that we have across the group, and to distribute it not only internally, but also with the customers. So, for example, we work also with marketing in order to deliver the community days within Sabio so that we can also share that knowledge and best practices with you on a regular basis.
Fantastic, thank you. Kevin.
I have no idea how to introduce myself because my job is to look after the AI practice at Sabio, and apparently that was a bad, I didn't know what to say now. I was like,
the oomph practice then.
The something practice. So my role is to look at all the innovation that we're hearing about in these sessions and what all these organisations are doing with the technology is to work out how do we practically go about doing that today? Like, what are some of the steps that we should take now that enable us to try and address what we see is coming in the future?
Fantastic. And Andrew?
Yeah, hi everyone, my name's Andrew. I work within the Sabio Salesforce pre-sales practice, and that role really gives me a great opportunity to understand what it is that customers are looking for. It also puts me in a good position to be able to research and understand different emerging technologies that best suit those customer needs.
So Rob, let me ask you to scene set for us. We've had some great context setting today about some of the changes, maybe trying to pick up some different aspects of that. But for you, what's changed that's significant on those meta level of trends and changes that we ought to have as a context for talking about disruption?
So I think I'd probably start with what hasn't changed. And I think the challenges that face us from a customer experience perspective are very similar to the ones that we saw 10 years ago. I think what has changed is that the technology that sits there is available, it's pervasive, it's ready to help us solve some of those challenges. So we can now take the vision that we had over the past 5 to 10 years. Many of us have been in this industry for many, many years, and we can start to translate that into actionable solutions to customers, to our employees, and we can actually start to deliver some value and transformation. To answer your question quite specifically, how do I see the future? I think that we will see, new features, new capabilities, very much being a tick box capability that could be turned on in minutes. I don't think we'll need to wait for long projects to be delivered. I think we'll find that the features that were cutting edge, leading edge, even a year ago, will largely become standard offerings, and we'll really see an acceleration in new capabilities being delivered. I think the customer management platforms, so the likes of CRM and the business applications and the contact center platforms will increasingly converge. That may be integrated or they may be a single common platform. I see that AI and humans will operate hand in hand to deliver great customer service and proactive engagements. And I really start to see that the way that we sort of tailor and customize the solution will be much more configuration rather than development, and that the customer experience we deliver will really just be limited by our imagination and budget rather than technology. To drill into that a little bit more, I think there's 4 categories we should look at. So technology, business change, the customer experience market, and industry trends. So you might find it odd from a CTO, but I don't think technology is a barrier. I think if we went back even 3 years ago, we might start to talk about scalability being a challenge. We might talk about reliability. We might talk about peaks in our business where we need to make sure things are going to work correctly. We might talk about the complexity of integration. Integration has moved on greatly in the last couple of years. Much of what we want to do is now available as an off-the-shelf capability. We heard moments ago the likes of Salesforce and Genesys talking about how they've got pre-built connectors. We know that in our personal lives, if we want a capability that's from an app store, those concepts are taking hold in our business ecosystem as well. So we can very much go and pick things off the shelf and start to look at using those. And if the thing that we want to do is not available, commodity APIs, off-the-shelf capabilities from the market-leading, sort of hyperscalers or specialists in their fields, they have capabilities ready to go. We can plug into these solutions, and often that can be done through, low-code or no-code approaches. But if we need to do a little bit of integration, it's very easy. It's very standards-based. As I look through it, I think that we start to see that unstructured data is no longer the challenge that it once was. We have off-the-shelf capabilities at a commodity that allow us to summarize a conversation. We can transcribe the spoken word into written form. We can pass a photo to an algorithm or to an AI, I know we're not allowed to say it, that will tell us what's in that photo, the key points to take from it. And these things are just there. They're ready to use, and we can start to bring them in. Now, we might think about cost, because these items may not be the cheapest, but when we look at total cost of ownership, we should find that they help deliver agility and we can get more value out of them. If we look at the business lens, I think we're a little bit limited because the art of the possible is massive here. The rate of change is huge. If we look at some of the more forward-looking SaaS platforms that are out there, whether they're in the CRM space or the contact center space, we can see that new features are delivered by the tens a month or by the hundreds a year. That's a big challenge for a business to start to think about adopting. I think, Martin, you made the point a moment ago, our frontline business staff are looking at the business as usual, the day-to-day. The question is, how do we empower them and enable them to start taking some of this technical change into what they want to do and actually changing a customer journey? How do we make sure that if we're going to go and turn on a tick box feature, we don't deliver a massive business problem? So this is why I start to say that I don't think that the technology is a limiting factor here. I think it's the getting the technology through to the front line of our business, reimagining the customer journey and the customer experience that becomes the hard. Technology absolutely needs to be a key part of that, but it's much more an enabler than a blocker than it was a few years ago. And we need to think about the stress we put on our colleagues. While we can deliver technology overnight, the rate of change can be huge here, and we can put them under undue stress. So to the point I think Nicole made earlier about well-being, we need to look at how the technology allows us to start to understand and measure that, and we need to make sure that we put mitigations in place around that to help them, and we make their life easier, not harder. And then when we adopt new capabilities, we need to think carefully about things like regulation. We've got the EU AI Act, for example, that's coming in. We need to make sure that things like that, if we're going to bring new innovative capabilities frontline, we don't expose our business to undue risk. So we need to think about cybersecurity, data protection as well. But at the same point, we need to do it in a way that conservative thinking doesn't start to unduly limit the innovation and the vision that we have to make our customer and our employee lives so much better. And then looking at the CX market, it was great to hear, the likes of, Salesforce and Genesys talking about the way that they've partnered to bring to market a new capability, and so much of it's pre-built. I think if we look across the wider CX marketplace, we exist in an ecosystem of solution relationships. So there's a couple of words that are a little bit made up, and you may be familiar with them, but frenemies and co-opetition, I think, is something that's pervasive across the wider industry, where we've got pockets of different ecosystems, so maybe vendors or types of suppliers who are very keen to deliver one capability, but when we look at it, they might partner in one relationship, but they might be have different objectives in another. Now, obviously, that's not from the likes of Salesforce and Genesys, that's not what they're talking about. But I think as we look across the wider ecosystem and we see that more spread out part, it's really important for us to think about our business, what are we trying to achieve, and how do we take the best capabilities from all the different platforms and knit them together. And if we start to make the wrong choices here, we could hem ourselves in. We could find that we've got the data in one platform, the decision making in another, or maybe we've got 3 different parts of the solution making the decision. That's not going to help us. What we need to do is make sure that we've got harmonized data that's accessible to all of our capability, because that harmonized capability will be what starts to unlock the automation, the personalization, the customer journey, and the AI that we want to go and deliver. And so how do you avoid overlap? How do you, in your business, understand your tech strategy, your data strategy, and make sure you've got a joined up and aligned view, and that the contact center or the CRM teams are not isolated? And if we make the wrong decisions, we could slow ourselves down and find that we set ourselves back or lock ourselves in for several years before we can start to break out away from those incorrect decisions. And then looking at industry trends, we know that 25% or more of the contact center has moved to cloud. 85% of the CRM marketplace is already in the cloud. Now, that starts to give us a direction of travel. The cloud is not the answer to everything in the same way that AI is not the answer to everything, but it is a platform that starts to allow us to unlock new features and capabilities and take advantage of all those things that I said a few minutes ago. And then finally, we need to think about data. It is critical to customer experience and personalization. To the points that were made a minute ago about 12 to 18 systems, everyone in this room has at least one contact center platform. I'd warrant you have many business applications. The notion of getting order history, customer contact, case management together, I think very few of us have achieved the nirvana of having a 360-degree view of the customer and the information we hold on them, and being able to present that to somebody in a usable and somewhat easy to digest fashion. So for me, without starting to unify that data, we really struggle to start to adopt CX personalization and AI. So Martin, I hope that starts to answer your question.
Yeah, that's good. So if I took, let's say, your role, CTO role, and let's imagine what we've been discussing in the art of the possible and compare what was and what is now, I suppose, synthesizing what you've said, I think you're telling me that it's easier to build what I want to build than ever before. I think there's a very interesting parallel as well, being able to put everything together into a single ecosystem. and then also thinking about the major goal that we've all got, which is end-to-end CX. Yeah?
Absolutely.
So that seems to be the big picture opportunity. You've given me a whole bunch of things I need to get right, and I think you've also given me a good news message around data being increasingly able to travel across these systems and make the thing work.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So your simple message to me as a senior person in a team is go build it, because we probably can.
We absolutely can. There's never been a better opportunity from my perspective, having worked in the industry for a number of years across all the different parts of what we do. We have so much opportunity now to really make a difference.
Right. So in the old world, CTO is always hounded by business people asking for impossible things. We're now actually in a better world where the answer is probably yes.
I think the answer is yes, and I would expect that technical leadership across our customers and partners here, we should be looking to help the business start to unlock these pieces. We should be more proactive.
Brilliant. That's a great scene setter. Thank you very much for that. Now, Guillaume, I'm going to ask you if you can sort of take that as a context and then take us into the day-to-day world of operational management, right? Thinking about how does that now work? Because let's face it, it's been hard work. Being in charge of these environments. We're constantly chasing, people turning up. We're constantly chasing customers who are upset with us. The queues are always overflowing. The tech's not working. It's a hard job to do. How is that beginning to change for the better in your view? Paint that picture for us, will you?
So it is, but I don't think in 5 minutes I will be able to answer everything, honestly. However, this is a very relevant question, especially when we think about the market trends or industry trends that Rob also just mentioned around the contact center platform and the move to cloud now. However, I think personally first it is important to understand that that trend responds to a growing need to build a unified customer engagement platform, trying to interconnect all those, I say that's a proper word, it's a mix between English, French and Spanish, but technological functional elements that we will have with the contact center, the CRM, AI, quality management, as well as data management. And those are the elements that we know each and every customer service organization need in order to enable and support their customer experience strategy without forgetting, and we mentioned it also previously, the employee experience strategy. Now, in definitive, that trend responds to an ultimate goal to build, I would say that innovation platform in order to be able to constantly innovate, ensuring also key attributes that have been mentioned, like simplicity, like personalization. I think that Kevin will talk about something even better than personalization, if I'm not wrong, efficiency, agility, and scalability. The truth is also, or the point is that, and that's coming back now to your question now, traditionally, all those different elements have been considered separately in a silo. And I think that this has been mentioned previously also. With very ad hoc implementation, sometimes also quite complex integration, and that was leading to, or generally leading to, either a complete lack of ability to innovate, or if I want to be able to innovate, to go through very costly and lengthy project in order to, yes, is it working? Yes? In order to either upgrade the existing technology or be able to implement a new feature, like for example a new channel, no? And this from a contact center operational management translated to a big dependency on IT with very specific and specialized technical skills just in order to be able to manage the service, when we think that the service should be managed also probably more from, I would say, a customer approach and business approach. Siloed operation, how many customers I faced also had siloed approach either from piece or group of technology or just channel also. It led also translated to manual reactive processes. We heard this also recently, and quite often a focus on channel-related productivity metrics and KPIs. However, and we listened to Stuart this morning about the technology shift, and also Rob mentioned it before. With that technology shift, now organization can and should and are focusing on building a unified cross-channel personalized customer journeys, jointly with an optimum and assisted user journey. And when I'm talking about user journey, and someone also mentioned it, it's not only the agent or the supervisor, it's also the administrator of the platform, no?
Yeah.
And this can be achieved by leveraging the key capabilities that we will get from those different functional elements or technological functional elements. In terms of journey orchestration, I'm not talking anymore about just routing. We are talking about orchestration, journey orchestration, sorry for my accent, journey automation also, in terms of capability, in terms of predictive and proactive services and service quality also. Okay, so you're going to tell me, okay, Guillaume, I'm listening to you, and you told me about the traditional contact center operational management. What about the today? No. So before entering into the today contact center operational management, what I would like to share is my personal and humble opinion about how to position the contact center in that wider picture. We listened recently both Genesis and Salesforce talking together about that merge or convergence, etc. No. So the way I see it is that cloud-based contact center platform or CCaaS platform should be seen today as the central pillar to orchestrate the journeys.
Yep.
So we heard this recently, not just a few minutes ago, just to orchestrate the journey. And I'm not only limiting to customer journeys. I'm talking about also the agent journey or end user journey. Those platforms should be seen as an enabler for automation and for predictive services, leveraging key features that traditionally we are getting from CRM, AI, or quality management, such as predictive analytics, but predictive analytics applied to customer behavior as well as to workforce optimization. AI-driven sentiment analysis, whether it's speech or text, AI-powered bots, multi-channel, cross-channel, in order to make sure that we have that homogeneity and we are consistent in the way we deliver the experience, or virtual assistant, just in order to enable and support the agent, all right? And this, so you were going to ask me something.
I'm trying to synthesize what I've just learned. It's intense.
It is. I need to breathe a bit, no?
Thank you. Tell me, I'm a call center manager. Has my life got better or worse given what you've just told me?
How can you? Contact center manager.
Yes.
Better or worse?
Has everything that you've just described meant my life on a day-to-day basis has gotten better?
Yes.
Simpler?
So, just for example, if we want, so the key, you're tricky here because you asked me a question already based on a key attribute I wanted to mention for the contact center operational management. So
I apologize for disrupting you.
That's not true because you wanted and you said we need to disrupt and be disruptive. So anyway, so that's agility. And the agility we are looking for in terms of a contact center manager, and I'm not talking about the supervisor, I'm talking about the contact center manager,
yes.
Is like, think about with just one click, be able to change an IVR prompt. Yeah. So that we can do it quite easily. Think about, I have different departments or business units. I have a flow for a specific type of customer journey on a specific business unit, and I want to replicate, not to redo completely. I want to replicate that flow for another business unit or another channel. That's the type of benefit we will get, and we should target today with the contact center operational management. You could also ask me, because you don't do, but I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask myself the question. You could also ask me, for example, what about a supervisor? What about a supervisor and what benefit?
What about a supervisor?
Thank you for asking. So here we will go for automation and automated. The attribute for automated, the operational management of the contact center. Very easy. Let's think about automating the quality processes. Let's say that we can apply quality management not only to 5, 10, 20% of the interaction or the voice calls. We can automatically do it on the totality of the interaction. Plus, we leverage AI in order to analyze possible patterns in terms of good practice, bad practice, and even possibility to automate. I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you answer me.
Formidable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So let's just summarize. From what Rob was saying, we have got ourselves a world where the technology is easier and more powerful. I think what you've given is a passionate demonstration that actually, living in the world of operations, we are now empowered to make the stuff work at a push of the button.
And we have to dare to do it.
Yes.
It's not easy. We know that that kind of change is quite difficult. We can be scared about it.
Yes.
We can have several obstacles to be able to do it. And I can tell you, and Rob said about it, technology obstacles are not going to be the most important. They are not going to be the most important. Okay, I understand because you're asking me questions that I need to leave Kevin speak a bit, no? Otherwise I'm going to... So I'm just inviting you to go downstairs and speak with our experts, and you will have a view about how they can really illustrate what we have developed and what we can do to help you with your cloud journey and also to operate your contact center. That's all.
Guillaume, fantastic. So Kevin, in the technology formerly known as AI, what's cooking now?
So you've all learned French, you now need to learn Scottish as we continue. Good luck. So, in the avoidance of trying to not just talk about AI, in my world, I guess what I want to bring everybody to realise is that we are all just customers. Of each other's organisations, we are all customers. And we understand what a good or a bad experience feels like. When we heard it actually earlier on, like when we contact an organisation, we do so out of necessity. We don't really want to have to place that phone call. We do it because either online, we couldn't find the answer we're looking for, the app or the website doesn't give us the self-serve journey. So you need to do it out of necessity. And thinking last week, we were talking about this, my view last week was trying to contact my own mortgage provider. They're only available Monday to Friday, 8 till 6. And I wanted to make what in my mind is a really simple change to my account. However, I also happen to work those same hours. So you find yourself in your day trying to find a slot in your diary to place the phone call, to go through the IVR options, which aren't particularly helpful, to then get on a queue, wait for somebody to try and answer, and then actually Rob phones you for your next meeting. So you don't get time and you have to try again. Ultimately, you just get frustrated with a brand because you're like, I just want to do something simple. Why are you making this so difficult for me? So I guess the question is, what does good look like? And so for me, that is, I want a contact centre operation that is available 24/7. I want to contact you on the channel that I want to speak to you on. I want to do it at my pace. Whenever it feels convenient to me is when I'm going to get in touch with your operation. And then when I do get through to an agent, if I need to get through to an agent, we'll address that in a second, but if I get through to an agent, I want them to be quick at resolving my problem. I want the agent to be informed about me, why I'm getting in touch, already have the answers for me, and to be accurate first time. Like, we talk about first call resolution as a metric in the contact centre. As a customer, I want my query resolved first time as well. Like, so we're all working towards that same goal. And when I think about agents, I think about how they could become proactive in the work that they do. So today an agent is reactive, right? They react to the phone call or the email or the case that's come in. But actually, why are they not proactively working out where they could intercept my contact and prevent it from happening in the first place? Now, I get from seeing Steve Jobs come back earlier on this morning and all the stuff that people have talked about, what I'm proposing, especially as the AI guy, is not very radical. It doesn't seem like an out there idea for us all to try and achieve. And the question is then, why are we not doing it? Why are so few organisations not providing that level of service? And the answer is going to be cost, right? To try and run that type of service, you're talking about doubling your operational cost to make it work. But the point is that that is conversations and projects that we are actively working on today with our clients. We realise that in the modern day, so post what Amazon has kind of done to us all, we now expect service whenever we want it. We expect things to turn up straight away. I expect to contact you and you resolve it when I want you to resolve it. And what we've also found in the Harvard Business Review tells us this, that actually the loyalty is created from a customer by giving them the least amount of effort to interact with your business. So we've talked previously about using CSAT and NPS. We're now onto the customer effort score as being a true attribute about building loyalty. And so for me, this is where AI really does come into play. So the only way to achieve that 24/7 type service at all of those channels is to introduce AI as the front door to your operation, to your organisation, and to start automating what are those transactions. And I'm talking about building something that's human-like, so not the frustrating chatbots that we all go online and we know is a bad experience and can't answer what we really want it to do. We're talking about something that interacts with us the same way the human agent is able to do. And so there's kind of three areas to touch on there. One is, as a customer, I want you to deliver me a hyper-personalised experience. And I know that's a buzzword that exists, so to put it into context, for me that is, as an organisation, you've spent a whole bunch of money working out what is your brand, what's your tone of voice, how do you want your agents to speak, and then you put them through training that lasts weeks in order to get them to talk like you. You can do that with AI very simply. But the flip side of it though is that we should be using our understanding of customers and how they interact with us to build an AI that meets my personality. I'm Scottish, I'm very direct, I'm to the point. I don't want a verbose reply, I just want you to give me the number I'm looking for or give me the answer I need, not the rest of it. But if maybe we have a vulnerable customer who needs the extra reassurance, then let's learn that about them and provide that type of service to them. The second piece looks as the agents and what's the agent future. I talked about them becoming more proactive than reactive. In my mind, I see that our agents will progress to become bot team leaders, if you want. So we're going to have a whole host of AIs out there deployed, interacting with our customers, but in the same way it's working through a process and trying to, in my scenario, update my policy. If that needs approval, then pass that to an agent to give the approval for the bot to continue. It's not that the agent has to take over, the bot just needs permission to continue in what it's trying to do. And then the last piece here is all about data and insight. We've been through the collection of big data, we've all went through that hurdle. Actually, I think the AI provides us a massive new world that we're all going to have to get used to. The amount of insight you can glean from customers' interactions and what they're saying, and because you're using AI, it's all transcribed, it's all categorised for you. There is so much you can do from that to understand why customers contact your business and what you could do to prevent it in the first place. Now for me, my mortgage example was trying to change my address. I bank with the same organisation, I could change it in the app for my home address then, but I couldn't change my correspondence address for my mortgage. So, first of all, we talk about how easy technology is. Why those two systems aren't integrated is one challenge. Why do I have to tell two departments in the one organisation to update my address? So use the data and insights to understand that I'm going to get in touch. Like, you should be able to predict that contact is coming. Secondly, well, why was it not automated? Why could I not just change my address either online or in the IVR or wherever that channel I wanted to choose, but why was it not there? And yeah, if it needs approval to say this person's allowed to change the correspondence address, send it to the human and let them say, yeah, we're happy that that's allowed to take place. So I think the challenge that's posed to most organisations here is to consider, how do you build loyalty for your brand, and then how do you reduce your cost to serve it? How do you going to use AI to enable you to glean all these insights, fix these processes, and interact with your customers? We talked earlier from Stu about how AI is exponentially progressing. So what the journey we're on today is only going to get faster. It is only going to become more capable. So if we aren't already started on that journey, how will we keep up, or how will we even catch up with what some other organisations are managing to achieve? And so I guess that's the thing that we should all be conscious of, is that if this doesn't resonate with you and it's not something that you as an organisation are trying to achieve, we know that other organisations are, and likely your competition is. So how will your proposition work effectively for you in the future?
I think the bit that I really connected in when you were talking there, Kevin, was the idea of effort. You know, we're coming from a world where we've still got silos. To some degree that's mindset, to some degree that was technology. And as you've quite rightly said, what we as customers want is simple path from where we are to that resolution. And it's an interesting concept that you're talking about here, which I'm sure some folk would like to come and talk to you more about, which is how does AI therefore make that easier for me? I think you've talked about some of the operational logistics on that, 24/7 and enabling that and all the rest of it. But the other bit I thought was fascinating is the notion of being able to mimic exactly the style of interaction that I want, and that notion of personalization as enabling and helping me effortlessly get what I want. And I think that's a really compelling vision, actually. And again, it's something that I think most of the audience could probably go back and say, look, from the CX perspective, the closer we can get to delivering needs and expectations in a way that really, really works for that customer, the stronger we're going to have in terms of loyalty towards us. How does this stuff called AI work? And I think that's a really interesting discussion to have, starting to map that out and say what services and experiences can we build that can help that become a reality. So thanks for adding that perspective into the discussion. I think that's really useful as well. Andrew, you've got the job now of sort of bringing some of the elements together, and actually we've just followed on from an interesting conversation about Salesforce, about CRM, and sort of the art of the possible there. So again, from the kind of work that you do, this is often work that we've been doing for years and years and years, actually. We're reminded that CTI is hardly invented yesterday, and yet it's so crucial for giving us the ability to be relevant to customers, isn't it? So tell us some of the stuff that you notice out there at the moment around of what people are still needing to get right, what they are achieving as far as the customer data bit is concerned, and what you see are the important things right now.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. So he made me promise earlier to not mention AI or mention it as little as possible, so that's what I'm going to try and attempt. But it's important to consider everything that comes before it. So, for example, what is your data architecture? What is it that you're actually trying to achieve as a business? What is your AI strategy? Have you got everything in place to facilitate it? So, what we've been seeing recently is we've been talking to a lot of businesses who are placing increasing emphasis on providing a personalized experience and tailored engagement with their customers in order to not only generate customer confidence, but maintain that confidence and loyalty as well, as Kevin was mentioning earlier. That customer loyalty is really important in order to facilitate repeat business. We've also been seeing organizations whose workforce isn't operating as efficiently as it could. So they'll find that they're often navigating around a lot of manual processes. They're having to perform a lot of repetitive manual tasks that could otherwise be automated. And they're finding it a struggle to find the information they need quickly and efficiently. And part of this reason is because a lot of the data that's required to facilitate that, as well as the customer-tailored experience, is siloed. It's sat in many different areas of your business. That data, for example, sales, service, marketing, etc. If that data isn't joined up, it really leads to a slightly poor experience for customers, as well as your workforce navigating and operating slightly less efficiently. So we've been helping customers for a very long time now navigate through all those challenges, specifically or partly by leveraging Salesforce 360 platform. What that platform does is it helps unify and provide a 360 view of every single customer that you have, as well as all these associated interactions that customer's got. As well as the 360 platform, we also leverage that for the workforce so that they can find their way around the system much more quickly, because that data that's traditionally sat in different areas of the business is now unified on a single platform. And really what that leads to is for a workforce that's more efficient, but also more content, because if you can make your workforce's life easier, they're more likely to enjoy the day-to-day experience. And we've actually seen in some cases that's reduced staff attrition rates as well. So it's a really, really valuable thing to consider. And although I've been talking about CRM, I did want to touch only a little bit on AI, but it's important to note that the Customer 360 platform and your vision to have all that data interconnected is a process, and it is going to take a long time. And that really needs to be solved or planned, figured out before you start to even consider AI. So it's almost the equivalent to ensuring that your house has solid foundations before you start, painting the walls and adding, nice pretty things to it. And talking of which, Salesforce has been investing quite heavily in AI and is continuing to strengthen it all the time. And it really, when used effectively, it takes that 360 platform to a whole new level in terms of being able to unlock the value add that you get from that 360 platform. So a couple of examples just to add a bit of flavor to it. Salesforce has a AI tool called Next Best Action, which I believe someone mentioned earlier, and stole my line. Next Best Action advises end users or provides guidance to end users on what they should actually be doing next. And it's based on machine learning technology that gets smarter as time goes on. It basically learns and recognizes patterns of behavior as time goes on in order to be able to provide much more accurate results and much more accurate advice for those end users as time goes on. Another example, that it can give you is, for example, something that sounds simple, but when you dig underneath it, can actually take a lot of time to put together. And that's, at a click of a button, I want to generate an email that pulls in all the information around the customer, what it is that they need, what service are they actually asking for, as well as any other tailored specific information just to that person. And at the moment, it can take quite a long time to have everything set up in place to facilitate that, because you need to understand where is that data actually being pulled from, which part of the organization, in order to facilitate that. With AI, you click a button and it sends it off for you. So you can already start to envision the kind of really, really valuable benefits that it can unlock for you. But more importantly, and this is really a conversation that we've been having with customers recently, is how ready as an organization are you to accommodate and adopt AI? So just touching slightly on what we said earlier, have you got your business cases defined in order to know what use cases facilitate AI? So for example, do you know what you want to use AI for? Have you really thought about it? Have you engaged with your teams, your departments, your leaders within your organization to understand how it can best be leveraged? Number two, infrastructure. Does your organization have the infrastructure to facilitate AI? How clean is your data? We know that AI is based on data that the company generates. And if that data is messy or it's not so high quality, that can affect the accuracy and the value that your AI solution can provide to you. So it's really important to get those things sorted out and ready before thinking about it. And then finally, how do you measure the success of AI to your organization? What are the key performance indicators that clearly illustrate the value or improvement in KPIs that AI has given your organization? So it's really important to consider all of those things and really have an AI strategy in place to be able to target all of that. So really what it comes down to with all these continually evolving technologies in the market is having a strategy on how these technologies would fit into your existing landscape and knowing what and how best to prepare for them. But there was also one final offering that I wanted to mention, a really big one in the Salesforce industry at the moment, and that's Data Cloud. Data Cloud is one of Salesforce's most current in development offerings at the moment. It's a really powerful technology which imagine almost like a black box that sits in the middle of your company architecture. It takes in data from all sorts of different systems in different formats, from different sources. It unifies that data in that black box. It makes sense of it. And then you as an organization can do what you need to do, or you've got a lot more options to be able to process that data in the way that you want. So a couple of examples is advanced analytics across your whole organization. You now have the opportunity to be able to analyze data no matter where it's sat in your organization. Another one is, with that information, it will operationally make your organization much more efficient and downstream increase customer loyalty, because you have that access to the right data in place to support those tailored processes that you want to implement. So that's basically me done. I'm going to hand the mic before I run out of time.
Very good. Andrew, thank you for that. So let's bring it together, full circle. We've heard 4 really great contributions, and I'd like to return to the theme that I gave you at the top of the hour, which is this: we increase our chance of successfully disrupting the status quo in our organization when we understand the full potential of the technologies that we intend to deploy. And you just had 4 contributions to help fill in those blanks. I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about that and to give yourself a space to write a question in your books or just log it in your mind. If I'm in the business of disrupting, which I'm assuming you're all inducted into, and you are describing the art of the possible, what's still a gap in your understanding to make that credible to yourself and other people and to switch on their imagination? I've got lots of them still. There's bits I still don't get about the tech and how it all joins up together back into the business. There's loads of it. So what's yours? Because there's a bunch of people here with some expertise and also around the room. And we've got a certain amount of time today, face to face, to get some of those questions answered. So give yourself a minute to think about that question. What else do I yet not understand for me to credibly talk about the art of the possible and to switch somebody else's imagination on? Because if everybody's switched on and we're all aligned, we're much more likely to be able to disrupt this status quo.